Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are back, and you know what happens when you're back? Somehow your technology may actually no. What happened is while we were away, we had to change some Facebook passwords, etc. You know, when you get into hotels and so forth, many people have a tendency to get into hack issues. Well, we think we had one of those, so we made some changes. So thus, we are about a few minutes late. Today, I'm casual with my Netroots. Let me move this away. Netroots Nation 2019 is over. Netroots Nation 2019 is over. What is that? For those of you who don't know, it is the largest progressive meetup in the country, actually probably in the world, where you get a conglomerate of over 4,000 bloggers, liberal, progressive bloggers, writers, authors, activists, all in one place at one time. And you know what, folks? We had a blast. We had a blast because we know the progressive movement is back. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. The friction that you're seeing right now is simply because the progressive movement is back. And all of those that are concerned, all of those that are worried, again, I'm here to tell you, the progressive movement is back, and we are back and ready to support the people throughout the country with policies that they really, really want. Folks, we are back. It is a pleasure being back here in Houston so that I can come to you directly. I miss doing the daily shows, I tell you that. I thought I was going to be able to do it from the area, but what we did is we had, I think I did about 48 interviews that I did, and all of those we have posted at the site for all to see. I mean, look, we interviewed all kinds of people, from politicians to activists to students to, just about everybody who's making a difference in the progressive space. We interviewed folks, and they had good, positive things to say. So I hope that as the days go by, as the weeks go by, we'll be presenting those things to you, because I tell you what, people had a whole lot to say. There was a whole lot there. I got in. Look, like I said, it was a great Netroots. It was wonderful. I mean, you felt. Well, I tell you what. Let me get with the show, and then I'll go ahead and sort of describe, what occurred, describe the things as they were, all of that good stuff. But I tell you, folks, I hope to hear from you guys, let you know what's going on. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and pull up the thing for today. Oops, there we go. I guess I need to change some of the issues in there. Anyway, the title of the show today is Netroots Nation 2019 is over. It is over, and we made history. Trump is smoke and mirroring again with media support, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, Netroots 2019 is over, and we accomplished much as we made history. We all return to the reality of a president that has the mainstream media captured, and thus preventing the debate on issues. One of the things out there is that we were so issue-based. I mean, it wasn't all about Donald Trump. Actually, I heard very little in the areas that I was in, anything much about Donald Trump. It was all about the things that we have to get done and what we have to do positive, again, in a positive manner for our folk. And when I say our folk, you know who I'm talking about. Everybody is our folk, or the vast majority of people, of course. Anyhow, out of the Netroots bubble and back to Trump's world. That is a subtitle that I gave. Out of the nation's Netroots bubble and back into Trump's world. Anyhow, I must say it was refreshing to be among 4,000 people that were liberal and progressives over the last 5 days. It was like living in a reality-based world after living vicariously through a fictional movie. But all things must come to an end, and we are forced back in the mistake that will take a decade to recover from. It's amazing how much damage one man who unabashedly implemented the ideology of the right could cause. Some of that damage likely, at least in the near term, irreversible. How do we get out of this mess? Well, we talked a whole lot about that while we were out there at Netroots. But anyhow, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on what the president has done thus far. But beforehand, I want to ask you folks, please remember to share these programs. That is the only way we're going to make a difference. Please share the program as much as you can. And also, this is a call-in show. Call 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. If you have something you want to add, if you want to tell us something that we need to know about, let us know. And again, you'll be on. This is your show, 646-716-5812. Come on and join us. The president, of course, is attacking AOC, is attacking Ilhan Omar, it's attacking Rashida Tlaib, and it's attacking Ayanna Pressley. Why is he doing that? The reason he's doing that is simple. There's nothing that has changed with these women. There's not much difference in what they've been talking about for ages. I mean, after all, Ocasio-Cortez spoke about concentration camps weeks ago. Why is it that right now, at this point in time, he decided to create all these tweets about these tweets that tell them that they need to go back home? Why is he creating all these tweets that are telling them all these issues? What the president is doing is what I call smoke and mirroring. There's a whole lot of negatives occurring in the country right now, and he doesn't want it talked about. He wants to create something that is more sensational than what's occurring on the border. He wants to create something that is more sensational than what's occurring in the housing market that is starting to decline. He wants to talk about things that are more sensational than a lot of the issues that are afflicting the country. And you know what? The media is aiding and abetting this guy in taking the eye off the ball. He wants to make sure that we do not start talking about issues that matter. And why can't we talk about issues that matter? Given that the right has no issues to talk about, that is the only choice that they have. They keep, every time there's going to be some crisis, every time there's going to be some nonsensical tweet, and the media is going to go up and beyond whatever he says and talk about that. And if the media follows that, then we don't get to talk about issues. Well, on Politics Done Right, we are going to talk about issues. In fact, I said I was going to take the first 6 minutes or so and talk about why we need to ignore all this noise about what he tweeted about. But you may ask, so then why are you talking about it? I'm talking about it to ask you to disregard it. I'm talking about it to ask you, when you hear people making an issue about that, ask them about, okay, how is that going to help us with healthcare? Let's talk about what we are going to do about healthcare. How is that going to help us about student loans? Let's talk about student loans. We went into detail on all those issues at Netroots Nation. We spoke about specifically how to get these issues done at Netroots Nation. So about these tweets that are going to be occurring over and over again, what you're going to see over the next few weeks is you're going to see that the president come out with very, I don't want to call them superficial, but very aggressive tweets that the media is going to take and the media is going to, the mainstream media that is, and they're going to run with it. And when they run with it, we are going to spend all day talking about it. And then those are going to be the questions that they ask about all these other issues. Okay? So let's not go ahead and be fooled by what's going on here. It is important that we are not fooled. For those who are just coming, my Netroots Nation t-shirt, my friends, just got back from deciding all these issues at Netroots Nation. Okay, so what are the very important issues? You know, we had a lot to talk about at Netroots with Medicare for All, and what we had a lot of very good discussions, and I didn't queue any of them up for today. I'll queue some of them up for later on, where I'll play those interviews that I did in full throughout the week. I won't be able to do that today because, like I said, I just got in yesterday with a whole lot of things to catch up on. I really wasn't able to do all of that. But today, what happened? Let's talk substantive things right now. Vice President Biden came out with his health care plan, and in the process, he did not deter or didn't he immediately decided that he was going to hit those who support Medicare for All, and I try to mislead Americans into thinking that their only option was the public option, or the only thing that made sense was the public option. Here's an issue that we need to discuss. We covered a whole lot of that in depth at Netroots Nation, but what I want to do right now is I want to tell you, first of all, I want to read something from the color Common Dreams. Common Dreams article said, not acceptable. Analysis estimates Biden healthcare plan would kill. Listen to me. Biden healthcare plan would kill 125,000 people in first decade alone. I repeat, not acceptable. Analysis estimates Biden healthcare plan would kill 125,000 people in the first decade. As Biden vows to do everything in his power to defend system based on profit insurance industry, People's Policy Project shows death toll would be equivalent of 42 September 11 style attacks. Think about that. So what we're left with here is once again from the left offering something less than optimal. Obamacare was the stopgap measure. We said that. Those of us who are very progressive, who went ahead and support Obamacare anyway, accepted it because we looked at it as a stopgap measure, knowing that eventually it would have converged into Medicare for All. It would have collapsed into Medicare for All. Why? Because eventually, if you have to cover everybody, that's what's going to happen. Well, for those who are just joining us, the estimate is that the Biden health care plan would kill 125,000 people in the first decade alone. And here it goes. Here we go. After spending the past week sniping at Medicare for All with insurance industry talking points, notice we have Democrats, mainly centrist Democrats, using right-wing talking points now. 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, this is from Common Dreams, presidential candidate Joe Biden on Monday unveiled a health care plan that one analyst said would cause the deaths of around 125,000 people over the first 10 years by leaving millions of Americans uninsured. Come on, that's not what we're in this for. Matt Bruenig, founder of the left-wing think tank People's Policy Project, pointed to Biden's claim that his plan will provide health insurance to 97% of Americans and calculated the death toll of leaving 3% of the U.S. population without coverage. Again, Biden, it's not something that Biden isn't admitting. He said his plan will leave 3% of the American population uninsured. If you leave 3% of the population uninsured, that is equivalent to 125,000 deaths in America. Even if you suppose that Biden's estimate is right and the uninsurance rate does go to 3%, that still implies an enormous amount of unnecessary death caused by a lack of insurance, Brunick said. One commonly used, e.g. by CAP estimates, states that one unnecessary death occurs annually for every 830 uninsured people. This means that during the first 10 years of Biden care, over 125,000 unnecessary deaths will occur from uninsurance. Folks, Medicare for all, Biden care. Medicare for all, Biden care. 125,000 more deaths. That is the compromise he's willing to make to keep the plutocracy happy, to keep private health insurance happy. Putting the numbers in more stark terms, Brunick said the death toll from Biden's care plan would be equivalent to the death toll of 42 September 11th style attacks. Needless to say, this is not acceptable, added Brunick. No Democrat should be running on a health plan that does not provide universal coverage. And I can guarantee you, in as much as Donald Trump has nothing to offer, Donald Trump will use Biden care to wrap it around his neck. Because all the studies that are going to come out and prove that what Biden is proposing will kill 125,000 people, Trump won't come out and say he's going to provide anything. He'll just going to say, I am going to give you something better, and it's going to be great for everybody. So here we have Biden locking himself in a corner by not supporting Medicare for all, meaning everybody insured, giving somebody something that is substandard that then can be used against him as a talking point by the right. I mean, how smart is that? Biden should simply shut up and say, I'm going to provide health care that everybody gets. If he's going to say something. Because all the other candidates of substance are saying, we're giving you Medicare for all. And that means exactly what it says. Every single American, if we get elected, will be covered by health care. Period. Punto final. But Biden now, he's going to keep the insurance companies happy. He's going to come out with a pragmatic plan. His plan is going to insure 97% of people. And that may sound good to most people, but it means 125,000 people will be dead. And the reason I repeat this quite often is that people are coming and going as we speak. 125,000 additional deaths. Folks, we cannot live with that. That is not acceptable. We have to do better than that. We must do better than that. I forgot I need to get to the chat window so that I can talk to folks as they come in. But anyhow, folks, I'm going to continue with that article as we speak. But I mean, now I want you guys to think about that. Why is it that Biden is so way ahead in talking about these issues in the form that he's talking about it? Because he wants to make sure that the insurance companies are on his side. Because he wants to tell the insurance companies, wink, wink, I am with you. I am not like those crazy Democrats. I am a pragmatic Democrat, and I am going to make sure that all you wealthy people are able to maintain your wealth, and we are not coming for it. So I'm an acceptable Democrat for you to vote for. Please, please vote for me. Please, please vote for me. That's all it's all about. That is all it's all about. When Warren Gunnell, staff director for Bernie Sanders, also a contender for the Democratic ticket, contrasted the estimated death tolls of Biden's plan with that of a Medicare for all system, which would provide comprehensive insurance to the entire U.S. population. Number of Americans who will die due to lack of insurance under Biden, an estimated 125,000 over 10 years. Gunnels tweeted, number of Americans who would die due to the lack of health insurance under Medicare for all, 0. We don't need Medicare for some. we need Medicare for all. Now, for all of you candidates that are listening out there, Democratic candidates that are out there that are a bit iffy on the Medicare plan, Medicare for all plan, it is time for you to use that as a tweet. Medicare for all versus Medicare for some. Medicare for all versus Medicare for some. And at this point in time, it is time to come down hard on Biden for not providing Americans what all politicians have, what many in corporate America have, but what many of the constituents, including some of the working class that Biden is trying to get to, need. And what he's telling them is, screw you. I am going to protect first and foremost the insurance companies. I'm going to protect first and foremost the plutocracy. There's no ifs, buts about this, my friends. There's no ifs or buts about this. This is what your former vice president decided that he wanted to do. He wants to take care of the insurance companies before he takes care of anything else. Let's see. Lee Grant, leftists are moving so far left. Soon they will promise unlimited excellent health care with guaranteed immortality. No, not at all. But here's the deal, folks. I want to ask you, for all of you that are that decided to call this left-wing politics, I ask you, and I honestly ask you to write in your notes. You know, if you don't want to call in, I'd love for you to call in 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. I would love for you to call in. And yes, Kathleen Morgan, I am in Houston, Texas. The background is Panama City. I kind of, you know, that is like bringing back home while I am, as a background, it's a beautiful city. But I am in Houston, Texas. I went to school in Austin, Texas, at the University of Texas, Austin. Folks, but please go ahead and in the notes, for those of you who think what we are asking for is leftist, I would love for somebody to call me and have a conversation. You know, we always speak civilly. And tell me what do you think we are standing for as progressives? What do you honestly think? And by the way, share this if you're coming. What do you think we are standing for that's so progressive? Okay, let me get to the calls. 973. 973, come on in, my friend.
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Hello?
Yes, you're on. Talk. You can hear me? Hello? You're on.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, but apparently you can't hear me. I can hear you. You can't hear me? Wow. I wish I could. What's going on? Are you there? Okay, let me try to cycle this again and see if there's some issue that I am missing here. All right. I guess I can't hear the callers. I'm not sure what happened there. But call back. Let's see if we can fix that. Let's see. We're coming into BTR here. That's interesting that I couldn't hear him. Call back in. Let's see if it's something we can fix on the fly. Otherwise, I'm going to have to test it out after the show. You know, we had to break some of this down to take it to Philadelphia, so that may be part of the issue. That could be part of the issue here. But it looks to me like everything is still connected. Anyhow, I would like it. Let's see if I can get him now. All right. All right, you're on now, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Wow.
Hello? Hello?
Wow. I am not sure what is happening here, why we are unable to hear the guys on that side. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, finally.
Okay, great. What happened?
I'm not, Berto.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Make your point, my friend.
I just wanted to say, Congratulations on your work at the Netroots. That was excellent work. And just wanted to point out and say, very happy that Mayor Pete has introduced reparations to his campaign.
This must be Johnny.
I'm just saying, he wants to transform America, and I have to give him I got to give him points for looking at this as an opportunity to build his base.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying, he's got it perfect, but it's interesting that once again, this idea is somewhat controversial, but yet here we are with Mayor Pete stepping up and saying he wants to transform America.
I mean, reparations shouldn't be controversial, right? It shouldn't be controversial at all. You're correct that it is. It is something that we have to. I mean, one of the reasons reparations is controversial is because I think we have to. There are a whole lot of people who, for which we need to make the case, right? And until that case is made, you cannot blame folk who don't. We don't teach history as we should. Americans don't know the real history of what has happened to a certain group of people in this country. Yeah, they hear about slavery, they think it's over and all that good stuff, but they don't know the real damage that has occurred.
And I don't see, Berto, on that point, I disagree, because I actually think Americans do understand. And the reason why I say that is because you have to willfully disregard so many of the fundamental tenets of what it means to be an American in order to create the situation that we have currently today. And I don't think it can be done accidentally. And though I will hear the occasional Caucasian person say, well, I didn't know that, or this is something I was unaware of, I no longer believe that is possible, to enjoy the fruits of this wonderful country that everyone has pitched in to help build, to pretend that they don't understand what it means to really want a meritocracy. Because in fact, I actually believe that Americans are a little selfish in the sense that they don't really want a true meritocracy. In fact, they want their housing values to be artificially inflated by the current supremacist construct. So this is a way that even the common person who may not be racist, who may be a good-spirited, tax-paying person, benefits. So it's almost like that thing where it's almost like a little bit of a bribe, because perhaps I can understand when a person says, well, if I switch and believe in a real meritocracy, I might lose value in my home. So it's almost like the common taxpayer has a vested interest to maintain the system that's been built around it.
Let me tell you, Johnny, I speak to...
And so...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry. And I just wanted to say, and I just wanted to give Mayor Pete at least the idea of, hey, you know what? He as the mayor in Indiana, you can look at his town particularly and say, Mayor Pete, you have not done a good job. You have not done a good job with some of these racial issues. And in fact, it could be something that can undo your presidency, or at least your run to it. And looking at the numbers as they are, he has to do something somewhat radical. So this is an interesting move for him. Now, I don't necessarily think it'll get him the nomination, but the point is that it's just interesting to me that we're finally reaching that place where we're having a real conversation, because the thing that's going to hurt America is this wealth inequality. And I always say to people, just as I finish with this, is that it has to be one of two things. If you believe, one, that either black people are genetically inferior, and we don't believe that, so if black people are not genetically inferior, then there must be something that's happening in their environment that's producing this inferiority and wealth inequality.
Well, look.
So then, if that's the case,
we're going to disagree on two things. One is there are many people who think that we are genetically inferior. Okay, and the reason they think that is because that is what they were taught. That goes on, and I have a whole lot of friends who would tell me that that is a kind of belief, that is a kind of characterization that occurred in their homes, and it is that feeling that there's really an inferiority there that gives many that belief that all the bad things that have happened, maybe it's not all that bad, and then that is how reparations get into the point as well. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, when I talk about education, that is the sort of stuff I'm talking about. In that, the first thing that you have to get to is for a person, and I don't want to sound callous or anything like that, right? But there are people. Look, I have as much pride in myself as you have pride in yourself, as most black folk I know have pride in themselves. Okay? But what I'm saying is there are many people who are out there thinking that your life has less value. That's why they can see a cop shoot another person on a video and say that that person did something to merit it, and see the exact behavior or worse from, let's say, a white person doing the same thing, and see the humanity in that person. That is why, the only way you can do that, is to think that that person doesn't feel like you feel, doesn't breathe like you breathe, doesn't have all those things like you do. Otherwise, you cannot take away, they're not human like you are. You have to break that barrier. But Berto,
yes, go ahead. Let me ask you this question. When you hear Mitch McConnell say that black people got their reparations with Obama, I mean, isn't that one of the most insulting and inflammatory things you've ever seen?
Of course.
But what's crazy too is I saw this video you posted, and this SOB, this white representative, was supposed to speak to you, and he intentionally walked right by you.
Yes.
And that's what I'm talking about. He went out of his way to ignore you.
Yes.
And that kind of intentional ignoring is exactly what happens in the black community. Our communities are intentionally ignored on purpose.
Right. Look, I am not. I don't think. Let's not talk past each other. Here's what I'm saying. Okay. When I was in a group earlier. I'm not talking about the video that I have, because I don't have the video of everything, right? But I'm talking to his handler several hours before, when we were arranging him coming back down to speak in the morning to us, all right? That handler visibly treated me differently than all the other media that's there. Some of the media that were there were simple bloggers. I had a much bigger operation than they did. So it wasn't, you couldn't say, oh, my operation was small. I presented a very professional operation in everything that I did at that location from a media standpoint. I did a professional operation that was much better than many out there. Okay? Now that said, I received you know when you're being dismissed, you know when you're being disrespected, when you have to force yourself into the conversation, when they're talking to you and they're half listening to you, when they say, okay, yes, we will be there, XYZ, and they're not there. And then when they give that same performance to the only other person of color there. Hey, Blues, thank you, man. To the other person of color, that same behavior is presented with them. I'm telling you, there are people who just don't see you as equal. And that equality comes from them not accepting you as a full-blown human being. It's your subhuman. And I'm saying, until you get over the subhuman portion, they will never believe that you deserve. And I'm not saying deserve. When I say deserve is the wrong word. That you are owed what was taken from you. Because you know what? Remember, first you used to be property, man.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I just want to point something out, that what you're talking about is exactly correct. but I would just alter it and say, yes, I disagree with how that guy treated you, but I actually think that the real problem is more structural, and I think the only way to really fix it is with government intervention.
Absolutely.
And the government has to step in and protect our rights.
Okay, let me
Because when are black people going to be allowed to be American citizens?
Right. Let me back up and agree with you.
Because Berto, you're the best kind of American citizen we have. You are. You went to the University of Texas. You came to this country, and you're the best kind of person to represent us.
I appreciate
You're the best kind of person.
All of us are, but let me you are the folks that listen to Politics Done Right, man. We have the top-notch folks, man. But anyhow, let me just say one thing that I need to say, Johnny, because I want to agree with you on something. We don't have the time, right, to wait on the change of all hearts. We don't have the time to do that, and that's where policy comes in, right? Policy makes sure that we follow rules, irrespective of what, there's a whole lot of people that may think you're subhuman or whatever. Well, you're owed these rights anyway. But what I'm saying, if you take a look at something that one of our commenters say, when Lee Grant says reparations are highly controversial, why should a newborn white baby have to pay dollars to a newborn black baby? And if so, how much? Right? That is a simplistic view of the whole issue. Maybe he needs to speak to...
Yeah, the framing is wrong.
Right.
Absolutely.
He should speak to Gillibrand, who understands... I don't know if you saw the tweet that I put out there. I retweeted a Gillibrand town hall in Ohio where she understood perfectly and better than Kamala Harris or anybody else explained privilege. I mean, it was fantastic the way she did it. And she did it in a manner that white people understand perfectly why it is. They're not given, that white baby isn't giving that black baby anything. That white baby has something that black baby was supposed to own. They're given back what isn't theirs. But if you cloak it in like slavery occurred back then, I didn't do it, then you're going to lose that argument. And that's where I talk about education. All people right now are benefiting. All people, notice I said all people are benefiting from the free labor of all those folks that were enslaved. Period. It's that simple.
That's right.
It's that simple.
It really is.
And then you put that out. But you have to get that into the domain. Now, how does that apply to Medicare for all and all that kind of stuff? Well, I mean, look, I can make a case. I can make a case on how reparations could be handled. Like, put it this way, John. I don't want anybody getting a check for reparations, all right? Because I don't know how that would be managed. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking for, let's look at the systemic problems that have occurred. Undereducated under education in the black community. How can you mitigate that in a particular manner to give not grants, but to ensure that folks that follow this pain, this issue gets to school and are able to come up. Because like I tell people,
education, home ownership. Right. I agree, and it doesn't require a check. But education, dissolving, black people owing student loans, dissolve them.
Right.
And house ownership is important. And so I'm just saying it doesn't require real money in that sense. But of course, social justice takes many forms, including healthcare.
Right.
Absolutely. So thank you, Berto. Have a great day.
Thank you, my friend. All right, folks, anybody and wants a call, give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I'm happy that Johnny and others were watching the broadcast that we were doing live from Netroots Nation. Let me tell you, I did 48 official interviews, but over 50 interviews in total. Let me tell you, every day I was going and, people were coming. And one of the things that I said, and this is important about this show, and I mean this to the core. Went over there. There were, we had a lot of media on Media Row. On Media Row, there's a whole lot of media. There was about, I guess, 12 of us or so. Don't quote me on that, but there are quite a few of us. And the way a lot of this stuff works is Netroots may bring people to you for an interview, or you may go ahead and have somebody of interest come to you. In my case, before I went to Netroots, I said, Netroots is where we get the aggregation of activists, writers, bloggers, and all these people all over the place. And I wanted to interview and talk and give exposure to a representative example of those people that are there. I wanted everybody to have a voice. Everybody who wanted a voice to have a voice. There were a lot of media out there that were just looking for that special person. That person that already had some sort of recognition. That person that was a congressperson and whatever. I got my congressperson interview. I got my executive interview. I got all of those. But the people that I most wanted to interview were people who were out there in the field, on the streets, doing things. On the streets, bringing people to the fold. On the streets, being a part. Those are the people that I wanted to see, right? I wanted to interview all of those folks that are, they're working on making sure that when the marijuana gets legalized, that the plutocracy doesn't take it over and the regular folks get involved. So I interviewed somebody like that. I wanted to get ahead of the Medicare for All scandal or Medicare for All scam that half of the Democratic Party is running on Democrats. I wanted to talk to folks that are working on unions. I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to talk about folks who were building applications for voter registration or voter security. I wanted to talk to people who were writing on pharma. All these kinds of things, right? So I would be out there, and while I'm not interviewing, I'll be talking to folks looking to see who had something that they wanted to say out there. And I brought them over. I don't think there's anybody that even did half of the 50-something interviews that I did total. And the reason why, and the reason and this is not a bragging thing or a pat on the back thing. The reason I'm talking about this is if we are to encourage other people to get out there and work hard, if we're going to encourage people to do things, there are two things we have to do, right? Give them that pat on the back, because everybody wants to know, something, even when the times are down and I'm feeling a little bit low, that somebody sees that I'm out there kicking my own ass, that I'm out there busting my butt to do something positive in this society. Everybody wants to see that, right? And the other thing is to expose things that otherwise won't get exposed. And every one of those interviews are going to live on. They're going to live on my channel here, on the Facebook channel, on the YouTube channel, on the Periscope channel, on the Twitter. It's going to live on. So that 200 people saw it here, or 300 people here, or 10 saw it there, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's going to live on. But the important thing is we went out there with a conglomeration of thousands. And this was the biggest one. We had 4,000 activists activists, writers, bloggers, and everybody out there. It was great. It was like a sea of progressiveness, and you just felt. And one of the things that I wanted to do my part, in fact, there's a whole lot of panels that I wanted to go to this time around. I went to 0 panels. No, actually, I went to 2. I went to a union panel, and that one wasn't really a panel. That was introducing Unite. We need one job or something like that. It was a promotion that I think it was IBEW or some other union was doing. No, SEIU I think it was doing. So I went to that panel. They had a breakfast, and I went there so that I could talk to those people. And the second thing that I went to is our yearly daily course, meetup where all of us who write for the Daily Coast kind of sit down, break bread, and say hi. And we were presented with a new project that Daily Coast is working on that I won't say here, but that will be known subsequently. So that is what was important to me in that thing, to get a whole lot of other people out there exposure. And I tell you one of the great things that I found out. See how we have politics done right here, a progressive, independent media that depends on nobody but you. There were others out there that are doing that, starting to do that. And I'm not talking about the ones that are, elitist. I'm talking about the regular guy. There's a guy out there who established his booth, who has a weekly podcast. He went ahead and paid for a booth so that he could get exposure and subscribers to his podcast, and I can't remember his name right now. There was Dr. America, who it was over there, Shareem, who said that he was going to start providing me content we were going to provided me content on Medicare for All. He's a strong proponent on Medicare for All. In fact, he's so inspirational in knowing all the points that there is. It's the same guy that you'd see standing with Bernie Sanders and a few others when they signed the and Jayapal when they signed the Medicare for All bill. There are a whole lot of people there that we spoke to. Of course, I spoke to Tom Hartman, who was out there. I interviewed him at my booth. I did some little takes with him at his Free Speech TV booth. But it was all in all a great conference that was accomplishing something that we needed a long time, and that was to give people that drive that says, hey, we are rebooting ourselves now, and we are going out there to get the job done. And the only way we're going to do it is for you to get involved. The only way we are going to get this done is for all of you to get involved and play a part, because it's not going to be easy. Trump has a method right now. And I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about Trump, and I mean that. And I wasn't going to talk about the slurs that he's doing on Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. I wasn't going to talk about that too much. But I want to let you know that that is the method that he's going to use. Every few days, he's going to have a new demeaning tweet for somebody, something, some policy, that then our mainstream media, who is very derelict in what they're doing, they're going to pick that up and run with that, and all the issues of interest that we talk about here won't get covered. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to cover these issues today. We covered a bit of Medicare for All by letting you know that Biden's bill is a non-starter. So what should be your marching orders, my brothers and my sisters, to let everybody know on every tweet that you do, on every posting that you have, that the the healthcare plan that is being released by Joe Biden is a figment of somebody's imagination, but it's something that won't work and will kill 125,000 people a year. But, those people who are going to be killed, the 125, they're going to be dead, and they're going to be peaceful after that. I don't want to sound callous at all. But it doesn't count. It does not count those who will be suffering in pain for lack of health care. It won't be talking about those who will be deformed because of the lack of health care. It won't talk about all those babies that will be born in a substandard manner because of the lack of health care, when we have a plan to give every American citizen health care. For those who are with me, I want to do my quick intro. Folks, remember this. I have 2 books that are ready. You can get these on Amazon.com. Notice I have even activists have to take care of their health, and this was my deal on how to take care of myself after having a scare, a blood pressure over 240 over 140. We need your support, so please remember to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. I'm going to put that on the screen. please go to, we're close to the end of the program, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright to support our program. There's a whole lot that we have to offer. I'm going to be periodically playing some segments of our interviews that we did at Netroots recently, just this weekend. We got some damn good interviews, brothers and sisters, damn good ones. But anyway, as you know, I'm writing a book also called How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. Anybody who purchases or who subscribe, which is very inexpensive to our program, gets all of our material. All of our material would be available online for you to read. So I ask you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And here, I'm going to put this banner up for a little bit here. And those are the ways that you can help the station, right? You can go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright to subscribe to us. I ask you to do that. It's very, very, very inexpensive. You can also go to politicsdoneright.com/donate to give a contribution. Or you can go to store.politicsdoneright.com, get a t-shirt, or, you know, guess what else we have at that store? Let me show you what else we have at that store. Let me pull this up here. We also have this. Our Politics Done Right teacup or cup, mug. That's what you call these. Our Politics Done Right mug. Please consider going to our store, getting the mugs, the t-shirts, or whatever you can. All these things go towards helping Politics Done Right get the message out. You can see the work that I got done in Philly this weekend. I can tell you it was damn hard to get all of that, because every single day after doing all those interviews, I had to break all of that down, because you can't just leave all those cameras and that stuff in the convention center exposed. All of that had to be broken down and back in the morning, put back up. So all of that was done 4 times. So I mean, it had to be put up, broken down, put up, broken down, put up, broken down, and then get ready for all those interviews and talk to people. And, you know, it was quite difficult, but you know what? It was quite enjoyable as well, because we were doing what we had to get done. Folks, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and go to store.politicsdoneright and get our teacup. And again, if you subscribe, look what you got. Mira esto. The books, and everything online, and you support something that needs your support so badly. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Throughout this week, we're going to be talking about issues. We're not going to allow Donald Trump to dictate or to change what we know needs coverage. We won't do that. We are going to give you solid info. Today, we told you about Biden's Medicare, or not Biden's health care plan. Please make sure that you put that message out. One of the things that we have to tell you is this. You cannot expect the mainstream media to be your ally here. The mainstream media will not be your ally. They cannot be your ally, because they are dependent on the funds coming from these industries that don't want to be regulated, these industries that don't want to be defeated. So please remember, independent media now is all we've got. And what we need is independent media that's out there doing it for you. And for that, I ask for your support. And by the way, support our GoFundMe as well. I went ahead and got the hardware, because I had to have the hardware to put all that stuff out there. But I need your support on the GoFundMe, really behind. So it would be quite helpful if we got that. If you have any questions, concerns, if you want to give any suggestions on things that we need to do at Politics Done Right, if you have topics that you want covered at Politics Done Right, info@politicsdoneright.com. info@politicsdoneright.com. I listen to everything you have to say, because this is your show. Whether I agree with you or not is really immaterial. Because again, if we're going to make a change, the only way to make a change is to respectfully do that. By the way, before I go, Samantha Sider says reparations shouldn't only be about ADOS and should include Native Americans. It should be about all those innocent black men and those who were lynched. There have been a lot of wrongs done in the United States. Yeah, you know what is interesting? Sometimes I think what we need is a truth commission, right? Like they had in South Africa. Because even, and I'm going to leave this for another time, but for those people who are talking ADOS, I discussed that with quite a few people at Netroots. And I think my position on ADOS is the correct position. First of all, there should be no ADOS. Again, like I said, I'm generally an ally with progressive movements, but I think that is one that is more harmful than not, and I continue to believe that. Anyhow, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I close out this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.